The only way we can have border security is if we have a strong relationship with Ethiopia. Look at the case of Kenya. Our business is 100% interlinked with Kenya. Our economic growth, economic development, and sustainability in terms of security. Now, investing in Somalia means, in reality, investing in the region. Bringing about stability in Somalia means bringing about stability in the region. How do we prevent crises like the ones that we've had in Somalia for the past 20 or 30 years? It again comes back to the reality of how do we invest as global leaders. Somalia today stands in a position where we've made progress on political formation, on economic growth, on security. But the issue is that the world has been focusing on terrorism and how to fight terrorism in nations like Somalia. You cannot defeat terrorism through military means alone. You defeat them through investing in political processes, through creating jobs, through fighting corruption, through inclusive politics where women, youth, vulnerable groups are empowered, through putting systems where people's hope and aspirations are seen through systems that they can recognize. How does, therefore, the world we live in today reflect the current realities? And why are we seeing new alliances made that are being made? The first, I think, question we need to look into: how can we address the growing unilateralism and protectionism policies that are being formed globally? How do we address the question of competition that is becoming what is replacing cooperation? How do we again find a solution to the real reality of that? Is today's multilateral institutions, either being the UN Security Council, do they reflect the current world structure? Are they able to cater for the challenges we're facing? These are questions that we will need to answer. And how do we relate to organizations like the African Union that are becoming increasingly important, and how do we put emphasis into that? Finally, the biggest challenge that we see now from our end is that how do we change old narrative? People have this view, for example, of Somalia, of being a nation of piracy and terrorism, with leaders who are not able to lead their people. Things have changed, and our number one priority, therefore, is how do we make the world understand they shouldn't see Somalia for what it has been or what it is, but what it can be in the future, so that we can contribute to the world. New alliances are happening as a result of either conflict or seeking economic influence or engaging in competition. That said, therefore, it is very apparent now that any conflict that takes one part of the world has direct impact on other parts of the world. The issue of the GCC is impacting us politically, economically, security-wise, which in reality means that the world cannot stand idle and watch conflicts unfold, as it will have an impact. The issue of the IMF's forecast on economic slowdown, it is very important, therefore, we think of preventive strategy, which hasn't been the case. In the case of the European Union, I think there's a major role for the European Union, which they can play, and I hope now with you taking the leadership, you will take that as an advantage. And in the case of Somalia, I would like to admit that the European Union is actually investing in Somalia, and they are taking a leadership role, and we see that as an example of where the European Union as an institution is functioning. Finally, the world is as good as its leaders, and if we are not able to agree on global warming or preventive strategy on poverty, then I think it is time that we not solve a crisis, but come together as early stage so that we can debate all these issues.